Okay. All right. We are live. Let me just make sure everything's working right because you know how that goes. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, we are. Okay, cool. So, what's up, everybody? This is your Cosmic Homegirl, and I'm here with my Astro homie, Darren Star, and we are going to be reading the chart of Tupac Shakur because it's his birthday today as we are recording this, June 1/6. You know, June 1671 is his birthday. Darren, say what's up to our peoples.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, so we're gonna get this started. What up? What up? Even though we've already been chatting for a while, that's why we're running a little behind schedule, you guys. Sorry about that. We get into our conversations about astrology and we really get deep, you know, and we could just talk in the language of astrology like all day. So if you're tuning in and you know don't really know what the heck we're talking about, we are going to be reading Tupac's birth chart. So, you know, the day he was born, whatever was going on in the sky with the planets and everything, it tells a lot about his personality and his life. And it's, you know, it's very detailed and everything with birth charts. You do need a birth time to know some things to be like precise. But we have speculative birth times, meaning we speculate his rising sign to be we have two different ones. I don't know if you have any other ones, Darren, but I'll let you explain, you know, when we'll get to that. But let me just also make sure that this Google Hangout thing is working properly to where when you talk it actually flips to you on the screen. Okay, it does. Yeah, because there's been times I've done live streams and I've had to like manually flip back and forth between me and the other person and it was like mad annoying. And I'm like, why is it doing this? But anyway, okay. So yeah, we're gonna be reading his chart. We're gonna be talking about his life. You know, I'm a huge Tupac fan. I'm like a lifelong, well, almost lifelong, since I was a little kid, Tupac fan. My dad was a Tupac fan. This is Father's Day too, so you know, my pops is not here. A lot of you guys know that he's not here anymore. But so I kind of feel like this is in relation to him in a way too, as doing this. And when I listen to Tupac's music, especially like the first two albums, his first two albums, they remind me a lot of like my dad and my childhood and everything, because those are the ones that my dad listened to the most. I remember when I was a little kid. And some of my favorite Tupac songs are off of the first two albums, especially the first one. I don't give a like, that's my favorite Tupac song. That is, those are the words I live by. As happy, I have a lot of you guys know I have Uranus in the first house, and that's very much like living the lifestyle of your middle finger up, you know. And Tupac was very Uranian in nature too. So yeah, like that's my favorite. I laugh, I like crack up at that song. But I still sing along, like I don't give up. That one, Rebel of the Underground. Rebel is totally Aquarius, Uranus, you know. And what's the other one? Crooked. I'm gonna try to keep it G, like rated G, not G. But Crooked A Ninjas. Okay, like you know that song. Oh, man, it's one of my favorite Tupac songs. Most people know Tupac by like All Eyes on Me. That was his big breakout album, being on Death Row. But and yeah, of course, you know, that's part of my upbringing too. Is that album, listening to it front to back. I think that was a double. I want to say it was a double.
Double disc.
Was it a double? Yeah, it was a double disc. Yeah. I mean, so of course I love that. I love all Tupac stuff, but the ones that really hit me right here are like the early. And you know, me and my siblings used to act out. And I'm like, now I look back and I'm like, we were little kids. Why were we doing this? But my dad would just blast it like nothing, just all up in our ears. So we would act out like a soldier's story where he talks about like getting pulled over and like shooting cops and all that. And then there was another one where he's like acting stuff like that out, like getting pulled over and stuff like that. Me and my siblings would be acting it out. Like somebody played the cop, somebody played Tupac, somebody played the homie that was with him. Oh my God, it's so crazy. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but Tupac, I mean, I have a lot of love for him. You know, whenever I hear Tupac, it reminds me of my dad, especially. There's like a lot of heartfelt memories, you know. But anyway, so share some of your if you're a fan of Tupac, Darren, which I'm sure you are, like what's some of your favorites or favorite songs or albums or anything to do with them?
What isn't my favorite song? I have to get a list because there's so many that I like. How Do You Want It? California Love. I will blast that song. Like I used to be jamming to that song all the time. I even like the darker tone type of music, like Hail Mary and Can't See Me. That's my favorite. Can't See Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's two memories that stand out to me. My first memories of Tupac, because I used to sing a little bit when I was a little kid. So I used to one of my first memories, I used to sing How Do You Want It? I would sing the lyrics, like the musical part. And one day there was this kid that he used to rap too, and I never rapped. So but this kid used to low-key like be hating on me, but I didn't know it at the time. I thought he just didn't like me. So now I know that he's a hater. He's a little hater. This is a little badass kid. But anyways, so one day I was singing the song and I was rapping, and I never rap, but one day I knew the lyrics. I had it memorized and everything. And his mom, the jealous kid's mom, was walking outside and she was nodding her head and she was enjoying it. She loved it. And she was giving me props. And then the little jealous kid was walking behind her and he was mad dogging me like real hard, like scowling his eyes at me like that death stare. Like he hated it. Like he hated the fact that his mom was enjoying me singing that song because he loved Tupac too.
Yeah.
And then I stopped. Oh my God, why doesn't he like me? But now I'm thinking, man, that kid.
Wait a second. So you were singing the chorus to how do you want it, like Jodeci? Like were you like, how do you want it? How do you feel?
Yeah.
Woo, yeah, like Jodeci.
See, now
a little kid singing that. Oh my God.
But yeah, and then my other memory was make me laugh. But another memory of mine, I had a babysitter who loved Tupac, just always blasting his music. So that's how I knew about her blasting the music, because she used to babysit me. And one day I lived in an apartment complex, and me and my friends, we were playing outside. I don't remember what we were playing, but apparently that was the day that he died. And she came busting out of my house, screaming and ranting and crying like she was a super fan. And I was freaking out. I'm like, who died? She acted like she knew him, and at the time I'm thinking, oh my God, I feel so sorry for her. Her friend died. I thought it was somebody that she knew. I thought she knew Tupac. That's what I thought, because I'm a little kid. I'm like 8 years old at that time. So I'm thinking, oh my God, I feel sorry for her.
I guess. I still can't get over you singing How Do You Want It as a little kid. Like, dude.
I know.
Somebody
should have recorded
all the lyrics, like the full, like.
No, not the full song.
Or did you censor yourself?
Yeah, I did. Little kids be doing that all the time. Like, he was saying, man, I forgot how it went. How do you want it to? How do you feel? Coming up as a
Ninja.
that part.
Ninja.
Yeah, ninja.
Oh my gosh. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing those little memories and your favorites and all of that. So I guess we'll dive in because we can just goof off forever. Okay. So everybody knows Tupac as a Gemini. Tupac was even consciously aware of his Gemini-ness.
Yeah.
But that's only the sun. The sun was in Gemini when he was born. Tupac is definitely an Aries moon. No doubt about it, Aries moon. Because on the day that he was born, if he was born like real super early in the morning, he would be a Pisces moon. But no. That Aries fire is there. Okay.
Yeah. Even the way he describes his mom, but yeah, I'll get into that. Yeah. I 100% agree with you on that.
So of course, a lot of people know, a lot of people don't. Your big three in astrology is your sun sign, your rising sign, your moon sign. So the rising sign is determined by the time you were born. And like I said, we don't have the time he was born. Like, I don't know if it'll ever be discovered. What do you think about that? Like, I've seen supposed birth certificates for him. They had some weird name, like something Crooks or something. Have you seen that?
Yeah, Lassane Brooks or Crooks or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, they named him after another person named Tupac, and I'm gonna touch on that too because his chart kind of freaked me out. The person he was named after.
Oh yeah, like it was like
is this some pet?
Nah, I think it's like an Aztec god or something, like an ancient god or warrior. Yeah. So, and that's totally fitting for him too, like his name. Yeah. So, but yeah, I feel like Tupac's rising sign could be one of two. It could be either Cancer rising or Aquarius rising. So we're gonna pull up the charts and explain to you guys why. Darren, didn't you have like the kind of the same ones that you speculated?
Yeah. I have a third additional one. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Oh, I can't wait to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 3. Yeah.
All right. What's up to everybody in the chat? A couple people are here making comments. I see some homies in the house too. So what's up to you guys? Thanks for watching and tuning in. But okay, so we both will screen share. So first of all, I'm going to say that I think one of the rising signs that I peg for Tupac is Aquarius. Now, it's not just personality, it's also like timing of things too. When you try to figure out like what somebody's rising sign is if you don't have their time of birth, look at life events, major life events that happened, and see if planetary transits and stuff. You can see if they match up with the timing of life. Like, for example, a huge life event for him, was like, unfortunately, him getting shot and passing away, like the final one. So for stuff like that, I would see, were there any planets transiting the 8th house of death during that time? Exactly. And I think with Aquarius rising, that puts the 8th house as Virgo, and he died during Virgo season.
Exactly.
At least when the sun was there. I forgot to check if any other planets were there, but it was during Virgo season. So that right there would tell me. And also you can look at eclipse cycles too, which, you know what? Actually, I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to pull up the eclipses and see what eclipses were going on the year that Tupac passed away, because that would also kind of give some clues into what his possible rising sign could be. Because sometimes when there are eclipses in one of your signs, like your sun, your moon, your rising, or if it's someone's passing, maybe an eclipse in their 8th, their 4th, or their 12th houses, or maybe on a certain planet that rules those, like, it can get super nerdy and detailed, but eclipses can be very telling. Yeah. So from what I'm seeing, in 1995, the eclipses were in Libra, Taurus, and Aries and Scorpio. There
Are you
was
sure?
a full moon eclipse in Aries October 8th of 95, and he died September, I think, the 13th.
The 13th, yeah.
He initially got shot on the 7th. So and eclipses can affect you up to like a month before they happen to like 6 months down the line. So he is an Aries moon. So maybe the moon could rule like his ascendant. It could rule maybe his 8th house. Like we got to take a look and see, you know? But yeah, so that's how we would figure out the ascendant. It's like how you look, how you act, and then the timing of life events. So that's kind of, you know, what we're working with here. We're not just throwing stuff out there like rolling some dice or something. Be like, yeah, we think it's like that. Okay, well, let's just run with that.
Right.
Yeah. So just to let you
do
guys know how nerdy we are.
Right. Some people do. They just say whatever and go with it.
Yeah, I can't do that. I gotta investigate.
Me
My
either.
Scorpio won't let me get away with just randomly going, pow, it's this.
Right.
So okay. So I guess I will start with, I'm gonna pull up the Aquarius rising chart for Tupac and explain why
Okay.
I believe he's an Aquarius rising, and then you can do your like pull it up too, and then explain why you think that ascendant could work for him too. So we'll just go like back and forth with each one. I don't have a third one like you, so I'm like, that's like a little bonus surprise. I can't wait to check out. Okay, so here, let me screen share. Let me share the screen. Okay. Okay, can you guys see the whole? Okay, hold on. Okay. Oh, he died in 96. Oh my God, I'm such a dork.
Yeah,
Oops.
96.
96. Okay.
Something else?
I said 95, but
oh.
Okay. Well, hold up. So in 96, there was still Aries eclipses. 8 degrees of Aries and 4 degrees of Aries.
Okay.
September 27th, 96, 4 degrees of Aries. And he could be an early degree Aries moon. So those would still make a lot of sense. 96. Yeah, my bad, you guys. But thanks for that correction. Okay, so this is what I believe could be if Tupac were an Aquarius rising. This is just a generic time, but the rising I feel like could be Aquarius because number one, he's a rebel. Okay. I mean, just Aquarians are very rebellious and they are all about the people. They're all about the rights of people, protecting the rights of people. They're all about gathering people together to fight against or for certain things, certain causes. They're very revolutionary. And Tupac's mom, I believe, she has a bunch of stuff in Aquarius. I think she's like Aquarius sun and a bunch of other Aquarius stuff. I should have pulled up her chart. Dang it! But
I have it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
So yeah, let me know if I'm right on that because you do get your like stuff in your chart from your parents. So he has to have some heavy Aquarian influence if his mom does. So a lot of times one of your parents, big three, their sun, their moon, or their rising could be your rising sign, sun, or moon sign, right? So he has to have Aquarius somewhere. So I feel like he could be an Aquarius rising. And then also Mars is a planet of anger, aggression, and war. And him having it in the first house of the like big part of your personality that you show to the world makes a lot of sense. He was very much that aggressive, easy to anger, but you know, Mars is fighting and Aquarius is fighting for, I mean, is you know, fighting for the people. And he was very much about that, whoever his people were, whether that was like based on his nationality or based on like where he lived, you know, like his neighborhood or whatever, or like when he was with Death Row Records or when he was with Digital Underground, you know, those are like your groups of your peoples in them. That's Aquarius. So you know, he always mentioned like when he was heavily rolling with Digital Underground, he always mentioned them like in a way that was like, yeah, these are my people and I'll defend them to the end, right? And then so he was like that also when he joined when he was with Death Row Records. He was like that, at least in the beginning. We all know the Machiavelli album, he talks some major stuff about like Dr. Dre and, you know, I don't know, other people he had fallings out with. Um and it's rumored that he actually wanted to get out of death row. Like he didn't he you know, did his time there. He got out, you know, Suge bailed him out or whatever, and then he was able to make a lot of money off of the All Eyes on Me album and everything, but I think there was some things that were shady behind the scenes to where in the end he just didn't really feel right being there. But anyway, so I digress. But yeah, he has also the North Node. There's so much I could say about him having the North Node in Aquarius. The North Node is like your karmic destiny, like what direction you're supposed to go towards as a soul. Because in a past life, which is the South Node, you were the opposite. This has been there, done that as a soul. So that means in his previous lifetimes, he was very Leo like. But see, that still came through like in his personality. I mean, wearing a lot of gold, being very boastful and bragging, like, yeah, I got money, I got this, I got that, I got the fame, I got the, you know, the girls and all that stuff. Like that's very Leo. And so he still was living through that South Node, his soul's past, you know. This is like your default settings, so he was really still very Leo. But what I find a lot of times is with your north and south nodes, they don't stand alone. If you look at the rest of your chart, there's still things that you like, you carry this in from past lifetimes as a soul. But I feel like the universe will play a little joke on you and be like ha ha ha, you're supposed to kind of move away from this, but to test you and to make it a little more difficult to do that, I'm going to throw in some things that are very similar to this in your current soul's, you know, chart, and your personality, that'll make it a little challenging to get away from this. And let's see if you achieve that. You know what I mean? And if he's an Aquarius rising, that would put his sun and Mercury and Gemini in the 5th house, which acts very much like Leo. Boastful, bragging, lots of gold, I got this, I got that, right? And very entertaining and loud and, you know, just very very Leo like. So and I can feel that Leo type of energy from him, and I feel like this could be where it comes from. And if this ascendant is not right, then it's definitely him still living through his south node that brings that. But what he was supposed to do as a soul is come back and be very Aquarian, which is to be very humanitarian, stand up for the rights of people. With Mars involved, that's fighting once again. So it's a part of his destiny to be someone who fights and who does unfortunately go through a lot of warfare. Like he didn't actually go to the military. A lot of people with this position, they do end up going to the military, or they're just very militant in nature. And he did, a lot of his rhymes said something about having a military mindset and stuff. And then he did also come from a background of the Black Panthers. Like his mom was a Black Panther. I think his dad or stepdad or somebody was too, like other family members. So he was like, they weren't military per se, like official military, but they had this militant way about them. And he definitely adopted that. And that was supposed to be a part of him, but he was supposed to use it for more humanitarian causes, not just to, you know, talk a bunch of stuff or whatever and just fight people. But yeah, him having Mars right here, it makes a lot of sense, so much sense. And then to me, Aries moon, definitely fitting. Now I use both. So this is like based on this generic time. But if we take a look at an Aries moon from an Aquarius ascendant, it's third. So Aquarius 1, 2, 3 is Aries, right? Even though this says second house, whatever, just roll with it. So this would be a third house moon. Now, not only having Gemini, which is about words, being very quick-witted, very fast with words and coming up with rhymes and stuff, is very Gemini. That's why there's so many rappers that are Geminis and songwriters. people would always say he could go to the studio and he could just write stuff like that, like a whole bunch of songs. He could just knock them out like that. That's attributed to Gemini, yes, but I feel like his Aries moon, if it were a third house moon, third house is also the mind. Aries is very fast, very quick moving as well. So that would be like firing off. Aries is a fire sign, so like firing off lyrics and stuff like so fast. Like I feel like he had to have had like a double influence of that mercurial mind, quick mind energy to be able to do stuff like that. So that's why I feel like Aquarius rising could work. Also, I feel like he has some type of Cancerian energy. You could see it in his eyes. That's why I think he can also be a Cancer rising. But if you have Venus here in the fourth house energy is very similar to Cancer. I mean, dear mama, and how he was about his mom, even though when he was growing up, his mom, he always says like she was on drugs, she was a crack fiend, a dope fiend. She wasn't always the best, but to him, mama is everything. If you have anything in Cancer or the fourth house, your mom is your freaking goddess of the whole entire universe, no matter what she does. Like it doesn't matter if your mom was a prostitute, if she was on drugs, if she maybe was abusive in any type of way, you're gonna be like the water boy, like, but mama said, like, mama's always right. So mama's the queen of the world. So yeah, his mom was his queen no matter what. Even though they had gone through some hard times together, they even didn't get along sometimes. I think him having, if he had Venus possibly in the fourth house, that could be where that Cancerian energy can come from if he's an Aquarius rising. If this is like, around the time he was born. And then also with the secondary ruler of Aquarius being Saturn, he could possibly have Saturn in the fourth house. So if he had the ruler of the first, which can rule your appearance, in the fourth, that can give him like those Cancer looking eyes that are kind of like the sad puppy eyes. You know what I mean? So that could make sense for him too. And then, like I was saying earlier, the eighth house of death would be Virgo. You know what? I'm wondering if he had any, like, what I should have pulled up the transits for the day that he passed and the day that he was shot. But Pluto is also the planet that rules death and destruction, unfortunately. And so a lot of times when someone has transits to their Pluto and in the eighth house, that can mean, unfortunately, something violent can happen to them that can lead to their passing. I don't want people to take that and run with it and go looking for, oh my God, when am I going to die? No, right. Please don't look at that. I look at after the fact. Okay. So just looking at after the fact, that very well could have been, this could be his eighth house. He died during Virgo season. So, and stuff could have been, this could have been a double thing with his Pluto being here too. And then if he does have an Aquarius rising, his midheaven would, excuse me, or 10th house, which could rule your career and your public image, it could be in Scorpio. That would make a lot of sense because he was very controversial. People who have midheaven in Scorpio, or maybe with Pluto up there like Prince did, there's just something about them that is super taboo, or like, I don't know, like they live on the edge a lot and they're known for that. They're known for breaking through, like just not giving a F, and transforming things in a certain way, somehow, some way. So he could have a midheaven in Scorpio. And then Jupiter and Neptune up here could definitely make sense because that could be entertainment, and music is Neptune. Poetry is Neptune as well. I always felt like he could have, like, he has to have some sort of Neptune or a Pisces or something in the mix to be able to write poetry. And not all of his songs were so like, fighting and warfare. He had some very soft-hearted songs, and he had a very soft spot for women, even though he had stuff where he was like, bitch, da, 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 but like he wasn't always like that. And I think that could be, he could have the moon in aspect to Neptune. The moon rules women, it rules your emotions. An aspect to Neptune that softens up that Aries moon, you know? And it can make him have more of an affinity for like music and tuning into like the softer side of life and poetry and all that. And then also having Venus, if it does happen to land here, like I speculate, this can also be like an absolute love for women. Um, Men who have like Venus in Cancer or Venus in the fourth house, or you know, there's other combinations that can lead to that too. They just love women. They do can be a bit disrespectful, you know what I'm saying? Like other things in their chart can point to being disrespectful at times. They're not going to be perfect, but they will just have this love for women to where they have to be around feminine energy all the time. And they will, you know, give them a lot of love and respect and stuff like that. So I feel like this or this could make him like the Mr. Lover Man when it comes to women. And then also like one last thing, I'll try to make this one last thing. I promise. Aries moon in opposition to Uranus. Now, if he were born around 11 p.m. or like really late at night and has an Aquarius rising, this could actually play out. Moon and Uranus opposition. Moon tells a lot about the mother. His mom, like I said, she was, you everybody knows she was in the Black Panthers. Aries is about war and fighting and stuff. And standing up for the rights of people is Aries too. So this does tell his mom being who she was. And then if she has a lot of Aquarius energy, like I kind of remember she does, Uranus is a ruling planet of Aquarius. So this can definitely show his mom being very Uranian in nature. And it can show a lot of disruptions in the childhood too. Moon conjunct Chiron, this is, you know, the wounded healer. This is pain and suffering. So growing up, he could have had, like he did have like suffering growing up. They may had to moved around a lot, you know, with this Moon and Uranus thing, because Uranus is sudden things that can disrupt your life out of the blue, and the moon is home. So Moon Uranus people, they do tend to have that happen a lot. I think that's all I have to say about that. With my version of his Aquarius, possible Aquarius rising. I don't want to go on for too long, but I can. But
I know we could be on here for hours.
yeah. So Darren, so let us know if you can show the chart and like let us know what you think about Aquarius rising for Tupac.
Okay. I really didn't spend too much time on his Aquarius rising. I just went by his physical look with the Aquarius rising, because sometimes Mars on the ascendant, they're not particularly tall, but they're not particularly short either. And Tupac was 5'9", and he's kind of built, you know, strong, slim, natural muscle tone. So that's part of the reason why I chose Mars on the ascendant. But you literally took the words out of my mouth. Like, I really don't know what else to say, because I feel like we're on the same page a lot of the times when it comes to Tupac.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you really did take the words out of my mouth, but I can show the Cancer rising one if you want me to look at that.
Oh yeah, please. You can start with that, and then I will follow.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's cool.
It's weird.
Are you trying
It's
to?
kind of different. It's kind of different. I
Oh,
don't know if I'm.
when you're not
Oh,
hosting.
yeah. Do I press share? It just
Yeah,
shows your face. Okay. Let me. What do you see?
I see a chart. Hey.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. 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 So, April, you and we're like astro geeks, so we don't always pay attention to the sun. We look at a bunch of different things, but I feel like the sun can be. I just feel like he's the archetype for Gemini. So I do think when it comes to sun placement, I think it would be really prominent. And I noticed that a lot of celebrities, like musical artists, will have sun in the 12th house, like Rihanna, Beyonce, and I think Sierra. A lot of them have sun in the 12th house, because 12th house does represent foreign exotic places, and sun can bring a lot of fame. depending on where it is. So bringing fame amongst the world, and he spent a lot of time in jail, and he's got Sun and Mercury and Gemini in the 12th house. And Sun is ruled by his second house, because Sun is ruled by Leo. And second house, yes, it does deal with wealth, but also deals with family. And basically, the second house is a house of support. Anybody that supports you, whether it's extended family members like cousins, like people that you can depend on. Like if you're like 11th house is friends, but I had a teacher tell me that second house can be friends as well, because it's basically anybody that supports you, like godparents. So, like you said, he does come from a background of Black Panther activists, and a lot of them spent time in jail for rebellious behavior. And I think that's where how this sun is playing out, and it's making a trine aspect to um, Rahu and Mars and Aquarius. Fighting for um, the community. Basically, that's what Aquarius is all about. Um, Providing some kind of service to society, some kind of way, fighting for injustice, social injustice, and harmonious. This is a harmonious aspect, so I think this is working in his favor as far as his writing ability, because Mercury making a trine aspect to Mars can make a person be a little bit more rougher and cruder with their words. I think me and you, we talked about that in the last video, how I make the words a little bit more harsher, more direct, more enthusiastic, impulsive, and direct. And Tupac was definitely like that. And his ascendant, Cancer, because Cancer people, they can have like round, watery eyes. So that's part of the reason why I think he could possibly be a Cancer rising. And then Cancer's ruled by the moon, and it's got moon in the 10th house in Aries. So he definitely had a military mind, like you said. And he even described his mother as being kind of like militant, or like a sergeant. And 10th house is father. So because his biological father wasn't in his life, sometimes the mother can take on the paternal role. And then it's opposition from Uranus, kind of, so loose opposition. But I do think he inherited some of his mom's Uranian behavior, because I don't know if you want me to pull up her chart, but she does have some things in her chart that indicate where she would be extremely rebellious, because there's a Pluto opposition too. And his mom went to jail for trying to blow up some building in Manhattan. I don't know if you know that story, but that's what she went to jail for while she was pregnant. And fourth house is mother,
Yeah.
and then it's Libra, and Libra is ruled by Venus, and look where Venus is, in the 12th house. And it's an out of sign,
Oh wow.
and it's an out of sign conjunction with Saturn, so definitely something karmic. Saturn makes you pay the price, for doing things that you're not supposed to do. So that's part of the reason. And 12th house can rule movies and films too, like being behind the scenes. So writing, speaking, and then Venus is like creativity. So those are part of the reasons why. And oh yeah, you know what? There was something else that why I feel strongly about this chart. In an interview, he said that I don't care about the money, I don't care about the fame. I just want to provide service for my people. That screams K2 Leo in the second house. When he said, I don't care about fame, I don't care about the wealth, I don't care about the money, I'm more concerned about the welfare of my people, young boys that are like me. And Mars can rule men, like men that are like him, and Mars can rule territory. So being concerned about people who live in rough neighborhoods, and these are malefic planets, Rahu and Mars, that roughness, that crudeness. And eighth house can represent people who go through turmoil and crisis situations. psychological people who have psychological issues. So I could see, and he did have an obsession with death. So I do think Rahu in the eighth is pretty appropriate for the, especially because of the way he talked about death and spirituality and stuff like that. And also, Sun in astrology, yes, it represents confidence and ego and stuff like that, but basically, the Sun represents consciousness and light. And 12th house is a house of jail, and Sun can also represent government. And he spoke a lot about how the government was making money off of jail cells. And Sun is ruled by the second house, so it's like wealth, like being aware. Like Sun is awareness, like being aware on how the government is making money off of jail cells and targeting certain crowds of people, like Black people, brown people, stuff like that. And then Mercury obviously giving him the intelligence to notice things like that. And also with uh, Mars being in Aquarius, it can be, a person can be really, really defensive over the people that they care about, like a certain crowd of people. But Mars is also a planet of individuality and independence, so that it could also cause frustration with certain crowds, like um, like that whole situation with Biggie Smalls, East Coast versus West Coast. Even though he's from the East Coast, but he's sticking up for the West Coast. And I do think that has a lot to do with the mutable Gemini behavior, you know, playing both sides. And so this is why I think this chart makes sense. And also with his moon being in the 10th house, the rule of the first in the 10th, it's in Aries, and his reputation, because 10th house's reputation was to be a tough guy. But there's another side to him where he's actually, where when you get to know him, he's actually somebody who's really, really nice. And I could see a mixture of that because Aries is tough. So Moon and Aries, they have strong, tough emotions. But then he has this harmonious aspect from Venus, which can make a person very like nice and kind of sweet, and like you said earlier, being a ladies' man, so to speak, loving women. Moon Venus aspect people, they love being in relationship. That's what makes them happy. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about this chart so far. And did you want to see his mom's chart?
Yeah, please show his mom's chart so we can elaborate more on like the whole moon and mom thing.
Okay. All right. Keep in mind, I did not invest any time with this chart at all. I literally just found it today. so so I just picked a random time, so ignore the houses. But what I did find is that this Rahu Uranus conjunction in Gemini. So as you know, you can pass down certain qualities to your child. And she, I think, was a writer too. So Rahu and Gemini, that could have been her obsessive desires, and then extremely rebellious. Uranus is a planet of rebellion, so completely individualistic and being very, very blunt. Because when you got um, harsh planets like Mars or Rahu and Uranus and air signs like Gemini or Aquarius, they can be very rough and blunt and direct with their words. So I don't know what her ascendant is, but Rahu and Uranus and Gemini, I do think she may have passed on some of that Gemini Uranian behavior onto Tupac. And what else do I want to say about this? Rahu is not really children, like we spoke about on off camera, April, but Rahu does represent obsessive behavior. And Rahu is a very external, loud energy. So, and I highly believe that whatever energy that you exude, especially for women who are pregnant, whatever energy that you just exude at that time, during that time, I feel like the baby takes on some of that energy that you exhibit out, you know, when either before you're pregnant or while you're pregnant or whatever. It's like I feel like it's a karmic thing. or something. I don't know. I just feel like there's some kind of connection with energy and children and what you pass on. So she's exhibiting this Gemini behavior. I feel like Tupac definitely inherited. And again, he described his mom as being kind of militant. She does have a Mercury, Mars, and Sun conjunction, so I could see her being very direct, maybe even cold because it's in Capricorn, so being kind of militant, very direct, and not so soft, warm, and fuzzy. Because these are harsh planets in a very cold zodiac sign. You know, Capricorn is very diligent, very hardworking, very persevering, and kind of stubborn, and very direct and harsh with the word. She probably cursed a lot. It wouldn't surprise me if she cursed a lot, because Tupac curses a lot. And people who have Mercury and Mars together, especially with Sun, they could be a little bit bossy or authoritative. Like, you know, when I'm speaking, you listen to me. This is my opinion. This is what I have to say, and you better listen. So that could be the attitude that she may have exhibited on to Tupac. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Wow. You know what? I must have had a different birthday for her. Like an incorrect birthday, because I thought I could have sworn she was an Aquarius stellium, but she's a Capricorn stellium. So
Yeah,
yeah, but still she had like a very, we don't know her birth time, so she could have still been very like Uranian in nature to pass down like that Aquarius energy somehow.
yeah.
Um,
Rahu conjunct Uranus. So yeah.
Yeah, and then it's in Gemini, and then he ended up being a Gemini sun and
Mhm.
Mercury. So,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense.
And if he's a
Yeah,
Cancer rising, then that would put the fourth house as Libra, and it's the Lord of Libra is Venus in Gemini. So maybe.
yeah, it could be. Yeah, Nadia Shah's in the house. What's up, Nadia?
What?
Nadia says the grand air trine. She said the grand air trine makes so much sense.
Yeah.
In his chart. Yeah, it does. Like air is cerebral energy.
Hmm.
It's all about like thinking and communication, and that's exactly how he was. Such a good communicator. Such
Yeah.
like, yeah, like his mind was just like out of this world, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And another thing, Pluto on the third can make sense too, because even the way he died, you know, he was killed on the street, literally. And then it's making a square aspect to Mercury, and Mercury can sometimes rule friends to a certain degree. So,
Hmm.
like, if there was some kind of manipulative, scandalous, behind the scenes behavior, you know, being murdered while he was driving, because third house is driving short travels. So I'm thinking this could be a connection, even though the eighth house is death. But I don't know. There could be a connection with this Pluto thing here, because it all depends on the transits. But then with these harsh planets in the eighth house, you know, that could be a horrific death. With
Yeah.
a horrific death, because Rahu is very like crazy, like it's random. Almost, it's like an extreme version of Uranus, and Ketu can be like Neptune to a certain degree. Um, and then Mars, that's like bloodshed, cutting wounds.
Yeah. See, and that's one of the reasons why I was like, I'm back and forth with either Cancer rising or Aquarius rising, is
Mhm.
because of that as well, because of how he passed away. You look at the eighth house and like Mars in the eighth. Not for everybody. Like I said, don't take this and run with it and be like, oh my God, I'm going to die a violent death.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but it,
Right.
it all depends. We'd have to look deeper into like the degrees and the aspects and this and that and the transits. But it is very common for people to be more susceptible to die a violent death. Unfortunately, if you have that conjunction, Mars and the North Node, especially in the eighth, yeah.
Mhm.
So it makes sense for him. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for your interpretation of the Cancer rising chart.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know what? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. There was one more thing. Let me go back because I wanted to bring up the rape charge. Let me see. That happened November 13th, 1993. So I want you to see where Saturn is. Look where Saturn is, right on his Mars in the 8th house. Something.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Saturn will make you pay the price for certain behavior, even though I believe he's innocent. But what I've noticed, this is something I've noticed, nothing that I read on the internet or TV or anything like this. Is just pure subjective opinion and observation. Whenever somebody has some kind of Neptune aspect to Saturn or in conjunction, and I have this conjunction, so I can speak this from experience. People who have that always seem to get in trouble for something they didn't do. Always. Like, it's just something that I've noticed. And I'm thinking, I wonder if that has something to do with it, either by transit or something that you just have natally. Where you're innocent, because Neptune causes illusion. So it's just kind of like, man, it's like being lied on and then you get in trouble for it. So I don't know. That's just something that I've noticed. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Dang. See, you see why it's like it's so hard to choose.
It is.
I'm going to show I'm going to show something real quick too. Okay, so but I agree with the Cancer rising stuff that you said. Some of the stuff that you mentioned is totally why I said he could be a Cancer rising too. Coming back to the Aquarius rising chart really quick.
Yeah.
The with the transits for the day that he passed, look at this. Mercury was retrograde at that time. It was retrograde. Let's see. Well, it was at the 29th degree of Virgo when he passed.
Yeah, the critical degree.
Yeah, the critical degree, the day he passed, and it's conjunct his Pluto.
Oh, snap.
So if he really is an Aquarius rising, this was in Virgo, 29 degrees Virgo. Virgo could be his 8th house. So it could have been like just barely stepped right smack back into the sign of his 8th house. And bam, then there's his passing. And then conjunct Pluto. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That makes sense. But I think the day he got shot, it was probably still up here in Libra. So, but that would have been in a probably like a wide conjunction to Uranus in Libra.
Yeah.
Wait, hold up. Yeah, the early degrees of Libra. Yeah. Uranus and Mercury together when in transit can cause some sudden crazy things to happen, especially when it comes to driving and vehicles and stuff like that. So, and if he could be like around this degree ascendant of Aquarius, Uranus could still be in his 8th house. Uranus in the 8th can also lead to somebody having a sudden unexpected passing. And if Mercury is here, conjunct Uranus, that can mean Mercury could be friends, Mercury could be driving, and it could be you're driving with a friend and you have a sudden death. Yeah, unfortunately. So that's also why I'm like, wow, like it's so hard to choose because there's so many things that make sense with both. It's just about putting. It's like we can sense the energies of like the signs and the planets like in his chart and with what happened to him, but it's all about arranging the puzzle to make sense to like where those energies fit. And I know a lot of people can be and I always have to mention this because it's just something I kind of roll my eyes at, how people can be kind of snobbish about, oh, you can't say that the 4th house and Cancer are similar or something. And I'm like, yo, it's all there. Like when you read people and real life people and situations, that yes, you can see the similarities and the effects and what they bring out of people and life events. So anyway, yeah, so it's like we can read the Cancer energy. So it could play out with either some 4th house stuff or a Cancer rising. Like it's either or. So that's how we kind of like figure out which ascendant can work for him. You know what I'm saying? It could be either or.
Exactly. It's just some people just have arrogance, and it's always the people that don't know what they're talking about.
Or maybe they do, but maybe they just want to stick to the script of like some like, you know, more traditional stuff, which is cool. Like I have a lot of respect, but you also have to have an open mind. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And not just only be like one track mind. Like there are other ways to explore things in astrology besides just like a cut and dry old
that's why I
school,
study
you
everything.
know.
Study everything.
Yeah.
And just that's the best way to learn. You study everything and then you test. That's all you got to do is research, test over and over again until you start seeing repetitive results. It's like, okay, well, this seems to work, so I'm gonna stick with it because it keeps on working.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's exactly how I advise people to learn. Is, you know, not just read some data and run with it. You really do have to look around you. Look
Mhm.
around you in real life and see what plays out, see how people act for real, take notes, see repetitive cycles and how things, and it's like, you know what? Okay, if I've seen this like 10 or 15 times now from different people, different ages, different this, different that, and the one variable that stands like equates to the same thing in each person, okay, then this has to be what it is, you know,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
and then you continue on seeing that, then it's like, okay, like I don't know, but anyhow, I digress. So Cancer rising now. Okay, I just threw like 8 o'clock a.m., but um he could possibly have some 11th house planets, which could bring out the more of Aquarian stuff. But looking at it from the old school, like the traditional whole sign astrology, whole sign chart system, um, Cancer rising would have Gemini as the 12th house. So yes, that's also why I thought he could be a Cancer rising, is because of his eyes. He has the sad puppy eyes, you know,
Yeah.
but also because he spent so many different times in jail, in prison, and he was born in jail.
Yeah.
So the 12th house can show a lot about what was going on during your mother's pregnancy and before you were born and your birth and stuff. Sun in the 12th, the sun is you, like a big part of you, and in the 12th, the 12th house is prison. So he, you know, this could point to him being born in prison.
Yeah.
Um, and then also him being so Neptunian in nature with, like you mentioned, movies and stuff like that, and poetry and music, just being like, he was an escapist for real. You can just feel from some of his songs like that type of a vibe of like 12th house or Neptune or Pisces. It has to be somewhere. So yeah, a Cancer rising could put Gemini stuff in the 12th, which could give that vibe too. And also, if he's a Cancer rising, Aries would be the 10th house. 10th house can show the father. And yes, I've seen a lot of people who have single mothers, or they were mostly raised by their mothers. They have a moon in the 10th house. The 10th house is the main authority figure in your life, authoritative parental figure.
Right.
So traditionally, you would say father, but not everybody has their father. So his mom was his main authority figure as a parent, and that's Moon. Moon is mother. And then also a lot of Chiron in the 10th house people, their fathers were not around. There's some wound there that has to do with the father.
Yep.
They weren't around, or maybe if they were around, they have a very tumultuous relationship with them for some reason, or they were like in and out of their lives. There's a deep wound that has to do with the father. So even though he had like a stepfather or two or something, you know, like I think this still shows his own father not being present his whole life. And in some of his songs, like Daddy's Home, like on his second album, he's like, Daddy's home. And it's like, man, you, where you been? Like, I'm supposed to be excited about your ass showing up. To
Exactly.
me, that could be Chiron in the 10th house all day. So
Yeah.
that's also, I'm like, man, he could totally be a Cancer rising, totally.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, those are the speculative ascendants I have, and then plus, once again, the day of his actual passing. If he's a Cancer rising, let's see, we had Venus and Mars in Leo. Mars might have actually been in a late degree of Cancer the day he was initially shot, which was like a week before. I'm pretty sure it was in a late degree of Cancer at that time when he was shot. And Mars, it can be acts of violence. And when they are in your sign, your sun, moon, or rising, especially, I would say, especially the rising, this is your body,
Hmm.
and the sun as well. That could be an attack on you. That can show a attack of violence happening to you.
Yeah.
So, Mars in Cancer, he could be a Cancer rising. So that can also make sense. And then let's see, the eclipses were, what do we say? In 96, they were Libra, Aries, Libra. Okay, let's go back to that chart. Libra, Aries, Libra. Okay, so once again, Aries moon, an eclipse on the moon could have ruled his ascendant, which could be Cancer. That's the body. An eclipse on the ruler of your body can sometimes show something happening to you physically.
Yep.
And sometimes that can make someone pass away. And then also, if it's on the fourth, it's eclipse is in the fourth house. Some methods of astrology, the fourth house, they count as like your end of life days. I have seen, unfortunately, like people have eclipses here, or some other harsh transits or something here when when it is the end of their lives. So eclipses in Libra also in the fourth, and then eclipse on the ruler of your body, like it
Hmm.
could have been set up for him that way too. The eclipse cycles of that year to show like it was his time, and then with eclipses and the north and south node, they go hand in hand usually with where they're traveling through the zodiac at the same time.
Hmm.
Um and with what's happened, those are the karmic nodes, like they're points of karmic things happening. And so if someone is very intuitive, especially, they can feel things like that. Like people said he made all these songs, and yeah, he had this quick Aries and Gemini thing going on. They could just crank out songs like that, but he always talked about death,
Yeah.
um he had, and I think he could possibly have a moon and Pluto opposition if
Yeah.
he's in very early degree Aries moon. And moon and Pluto people, they talk about death. Biggie had a
Yeah.
moon and Pluto conjunction,
Yep. And Virgo.
and in Virgo, yes, and he did the same thing. Talked about death, life after death, and named his albums, and talked about it a lot, about like feeling death creeping up on you.
Yeah.
Tupac did the same thing. I see death around the corner. You know,
Yeah.
that was like one of my favorite Tupac songs too.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
he's
yeah, the moon and Pluto opposition can show that
yeah.
someone always has death on the mind. The moon is the inner mind. And
Hmm.
what was my point? Oh, yeah. So if you're very intuitive, like when stuff's gonna go down in your life, you can feel it. Like eclipse cycles can bring major life changes and transformation, and you can just feel it. Like I talk to people close to me who aren't even into astrology to this level of depth, but when there's eclipse cycles happening in significant places for them, they tell me like, I just feel like this is going to happen. I feel like this is going to happen. And when I look at their transits and where the eclipses are landing, it makes total sense. So, I say that to say that he probably felt death coming on because the eclipse cycles affected him in that way. Left eye, also, there was an eclipse. I want to say it was like right on her sun. It landed right on something of hers. I think it was like a month after she passed away, and there was an eclipse exactly on either her birthday or something. Like I'll have to look it up again. I did her chart before on a different channel, but she when if you watch that video, the last days of Left Eye, she's
Yeah.
talking about she came out of the house freaking out. She's like, I had this crazy dream, like the sun and moon were together in the sky and this and that, like,
What?
and she was freaked out by it. And I was like, that's an eclipse.
Wow.
And there was
I
an
never
eclipse.
knew that.
Yes. And she was very spiritual. So,
Hmm.
and her and Tupac, she said their lives were parallel in some ways, which I think it's a Leo Aquarius thing that they have, because she was a Leo rising.
Yeah,
And she
and she
said their lives were
also.
parallel. So I'm thinking he could have. That's also what made me think he could be an Aquarius rising because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then there's
Yeah,
this. So
yeah, because she
yeah,
had Rahu, Mars, and Aquarius too, and Moon in the 12th. I think Moon in the 12th. I have to look at her chart. I don't remember, but
yeah,
yeah,
she's a Cancer moon.
Cancer Moon. Right, right. Leo rising. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she said she went to his house and it was crazy because they had like some of the same dishes and like some of the same decorative things or something. She said she was
Wow.
freaking out, like, how are we almost the same person? This is crazy.
Wow. They probably have the same ascendant and we don't even know it. Well,
Yeah, we
but you know what? She's a Leo rising. I don't know. Tupac.
yeah,
That
I
ball
don't know.
throw me off.
Yeah.
Leo likes
No,
big
but
hair.
if your ascendants are flipped, you can still have like
Yeah,
some parallel things happen, but maybe they
that's
happen at different
true.
times or you know.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
but yeah, I'm gonna stop going off because I want you to share with us what is the third ascendant that you think Tupac can have. Like
Okay.
this is a
This is kind of,
surprise for me too, though.
this is kind of secondary. My Cancer rising is like primary, but I'm gonna give it a shot because oh, have to edit it, of course. uh, what did I put? I think I put.
Okay, Nadia says, "Oh, thank you so much, Nadia. You're so sweet." She said that we're great. Thank you. Please consider doing a live reading of Biggie if you haven't already. Yeah, we should. We should definitely do that. I am so interested in Biggie's chart as well. So yeah.
Um, I don't think. Okay, I chose Sagittarius rising, but I'm not fully convinced. But there were some things in here that made me, side eye it a little bit. I just picked a random time. I don't think the ascendant would be that close to Neptune. I don't think so. I think it's kind of far. But if you think about some of Tupac's music, like some of it was very mentoring ish, like uplifting, like that song Changes and what's that other song called? Keep Your Head Up, stuff like that. That's to me, that is more Sag like because some of his songs had a little bit of a religious touch to it, or things like he would say stuff like a ghetto gospel or I wonder if heaven got a ghetto, stuff like that. A little misguided way of looking at religion, but he talked about religion in a very unusual way. So I'm kind of thinking maybe that could be, I don't know, Sag rising, because Sag people, they have like big smiles and big eyes. Like Tupac has big eyes and he always had that big cheesy smile on his face. Like to me, that's Sag all day. Or there's some
Yeah.
kind of energy. There's
I
some kind
read
of,
the same thing from him. Yeah,
yeah,
because of the smile and the laugh.
yeah, the laugh, the big laugh, the smile. And then the ninth house, with K2 there, if the rule of the ninth is in the seventh, he would be bringing his morale to the masses of people. Because the seventh house deals, it's not only relationship, but it deals with the masses. And sometimes people who have sun in the seventh house can bring on a certain amount of fame. Sometimes, like sun in the seventh house, you read all these horrible things about it, but sometimes he can be good. It means people will respect your creativity. It could be difficult with relationship, but it could be great if you're trying to be in some kind of media business or something like that. You could attain a lot of respect from people. And also this Rahu Mars in Aquarius in the third house. So I'm thinking, yeah, he would be extremely, extremely defensive over his neighborhood, his hood. And Mars is anger. So Mars likes to defend people, defending my neighborhood, defending my town, defending my homies. Because Aquarius is all about society and groups. West Side, that's what it was all about for him. And third house is writing, and Rahu and Mars is very like, explosive. Like he was a rapid writer, and then it's making a harmonious aspect to Mercury, which is also communication, writing, speaking, talking. So I just think this would bring a lot of rapid energy into third house things, him being super business minded, business oriented, and just very much concerned about the young men that grew up in a tough neighborhood like he did. Because some people who live in poor neighborhoods, they have rough recruiter planets in the third house, like Mars, Rahu, or Saturn, or Pluto, or something like that. Not always, but sometimes it'll play on the fourth. It could play on the third or the fourth. But yeah, I could definitely see him being extremely defensive. With Rahu and Mars, it makes you have an incredible explosive temper and being extremely defensive. And I don't think I told you this, April, but my sister met Tupac. Knew Tupac.
No, you didn't. You told me about a sister that knew Eazy-E, so I'm like,
He knows both.
What's up with your family?
I know. Well, we're from California. My sister know everybody. She got Rahu and Aquarius in the third house too. I'm telling you, she knows everybody. She knows Rahu and Aquarius in the third house. She knows everybody. But yeah, she told me that she been to his house before, and she said that when she went to the bathroom, she found he had a 9mm in his bathroom.
Wow, that's like Aries and Mars all day. Like, I stay strong.
And they were
even in the bathroom. What's up?
And she said that there were pencils and notes everywhere. Like, she said, I think he used to write on the toilet. That's what she told me recently. Like, I think
probably I mean, no further comment, but you know what I'm saying?
Right. I hate to put his personal business out there, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah, gee, thanks for outing Tupac like that, Darren. Like,
oh man,
like, yo, he be sitting there writing when he's, handling everybody in the whole wide world. That's what Tupac did.
Dang, all right,
I'm just
man.
kidding. That's your Gemini. That's your Gemini all day. Now, I ain't the one that gossips. You ain't heard from me. Tupac,
Gemini too. He probably told on himself. Oh my god, now I can't get through it. Oh my goodness. But yeah, but those are the only reasons why I think this is a possibility. And but yeah, I think you pretty much said everything else. Like this moon trine, it's, you know what? I always find that people who have a moon aspecting Neptune, they make the best intuitive people, like damn near psychics or something. Like, it's weird. And then moon opposing, I feel like when moon or Mercury, when they make some kind of funky aspect to the outer planets like Neptune and Uranus or Pluto, there's always some kind of intuition type of thing going on with them.
Yeah, true.
Like Uranus is more about like the future or things that become trending. Like that's what makes him more innovative. He was like ahead of his times. And then Pluto, like you mentioned, intuition of death or paranoia. Sometimes Pluto can cause paranoia, suspiciousness. Like he was all pissed off at Biggie when he got shut up the first time. And Gemini people, they hate it when you don't tell them or when you don't inform them on something. Because he's got Pluto making a square aspect to Mercury too. And from my personal experience, whenever a Gemini gets like really angry, it's usually because they weren't informed or told about anything, because they feel like you're trying to be sneaky. Why didn't you tell me? So he was all pissed off about it. And in Biggie's chart, I didn't spend too much time trying to figure out his ascendant. I just threw a time on here. But people who have a lot of earth in them, they don't tell everything like an air sign would. And people who have a lot of earth in them, they have this heavy muffledness to their voice, because he's got a Jupiter in Capricorn, trine aspect to Mercury, trine. Is that a trine? Yeah, that's a trine to Moon in Virgo. So he's very earthy, even though he's a Sun Gemini, but he's got a Saturn conjunction. So that slows that mutable energy down. and then he has a lot of earth in him with the grand trine aspect. So even the way he raps, he has that muffled heaviness to his voice. It's not particularly fast or quick. He's still a good rapper, but it's not fast and rapid like Tupac. So yeah, that's my take with that.
Yeah. So Sag Rising, you know what? That was also I had the same thing. I
Yeah.
had the same, like, he has to have some Sagittarius or
Mhm.
Jupiter very strong or something
Mhm.
to have that really big smile like that. And
Yeah.
his mom had, with the chart that you showed of his mom, she had Venus in Sagittarius. So
Yeah, she did.
um yeah, it makes me wonder now, like, what could have
Right.
been Sagittarian? Let's see, his Jupiter was in Scorpio. If he
Mhm.
was a Cancer rising, maybe a late degree, he could have Jupiter trine the ascendant.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. I
you
know.
know, I don't know. There could be something we could probably look and try to put the puzzle pieces together to see
Yeah.
where the Sagittarian comes from, but
Mhm.
also or maybe with, if he was a late degree Cancer rising, with like the chart I pulled up, his moon could actually be in Placidus chart system. It could be in the ninth house, but
Yeah.
it's in the sign of the 10th, so all the 10th house stuff would still apply at the same time.
I
And
thought
that could
about that
show
too.
his mom's qualities too, with having a little bit of Sag energy in her, if the moon landed in the ninth, you know?
Yeah. I thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are like the puzzles that we try to put together with
Yeah.
Tupac. But I mean, whichever one it really is, all in all, it still comes down to, he's got the Gemini, obviously, he's got the Cancer somewhere, he's got the Aquarian, he's got the Sagittarian. I
Mhm.
feel like he has a dash of Leo like energy too in the
Mhm.
mix, and then the kind of Pisces or 12th house type of stuff too. Those
Yeah.
are like the strongest things that stand out
Yeah.
within his energy field, that just come
Yeah.
at you. So it's just like, how do we
Where do they
arrange that?
go? Yeah. How do they fit?
Yeah,
And then you do have to check both systems too. You
yeah,
with Placidus and whole sign, and it's so complicated. That's why it takes forever. And I've only tried for a few days. Like, luckily I know his music, but trying to figure out the chart is a different story. And then I didn't even think about the eclipses. That's genius. I'm like, oh man, I didn't think about that. I was just looking at transits and other stuff.
yeah. Well, yeah, thanks for saying it's genius and stuff. But yeah, so you know what, I give a lot of mad props to astrologers that do chart rectification, and they can confidently come up with a birth time for someone who's like, I don't know what time I was born.
Hmm.
That rectification stuff, there's people that are sharp with it, like I don't know if you follow Ever Reese, um
The name's
but
familiar.
yeah, he is really
Oh,
sharp with rectification of natal charts to see the ascendant. There's certain questions he'll ask people, like, did you have certain injuries, and what ages did this happen or that happen? And he's like, bam, bam, bam,
oh,
so
oh
that's
yeah. I follow him. I'm tripping. I know what that
yeah, that is some
is.
serious skill. No, and there's a lot of other astrologers that do that too. They do chart rectification, and they're like confident with it. They just, I think I'm too much of a seventh houser to where there are situations like this where I'm like, well, this one could work, but also this one. And then there's a lot of times where I'm like, no, I'm sure, like 100% from
Hmm.
being around someone or tapping into their
Hmm.
energy somehow. I'm like, I feel it radiating off of you that you are a
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah rising. And then I'll
yeah,
look at all the other stuff too, like life events, eclipses, this and that. And I'm like, shit makes sense, man.
yeah,
It's all right
exactly.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what can make it hard sometimes? When it's too obvious too. Sometimes the obvious people can be difficult because, like with Tupac, you can clearly see the Gemini, the eighth house stuff, the Aquarius stuff, the Aries stuff. But that can be hard because, are we picking up the houses, or are we picking up the energy from the planets in those signs?
Yeah.
That's what made it
True.
hard for Tupac, because it's kind of like, okay, I can feel that Jupiter Scorpio. I can feel all the Gemini energy. I definitely feel that Aquarius, but it's just where. That's the hard part. Like, where are those energies on?
Yeah. how does the puzzle, fit together? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, that's what we have, you guys. Let me look at the chat and see if there's any input from anybody. Okay, now you have a question in the chat. Someone is asking, why did you suggest that you don't think Neptune could be on Tupac's ascendant?
Oh, me?
Yes, with the
Um,
Sag rising, the possible Sag rising.
because normally they do things to create some kind of illusion to their look. Either they naturally have some, either they naturally have some kind of look to where people are confused as to their race. Like some people could be a race, but they look like another one, or they may do things to their look to cause an illusion, like maybe women who like to put on different colored wigs, but it's not their natural color, or they may do certain things like that to create an illusion, or to make
Yeah.
it seem like you're something that you're not. Those are the kind of things that I notice. Like he does have a lot of tattoos, but normally people who have tattoos, it's usually Uranus or Mars involved. Those are the kind of patterns I see with that. So that's why I'm kind of thinking, well, if Neptune is there in Sag, then I'm thinking the ascendant degree would have to be kind of far. Because I just don't pick up that vibe from Tupac trying to create an illusion as far as his physical features go.
Yeah,
He
like
was-
Tupac wasn't rocking the colored contacts and the different
right.
wigs. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't wearing no toupee or nothing like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Like
he's
today,
an
I'm gonna be rocking the blonde flat top
yeah.
toupee. And the
I mean,
next
he's an
day,
enigma for sure, but not like that. He's mysterious, but not like that. Like everybody
yeah,
knows where he comes from. Like everybody knows that he has a lot of black pride. So that's why I'm kind of like, nah, he's too direct as far as where his roots are, where he comes from. There's no question. There's no confusion. He's not mixed. He's not trying to be something that he's not. Not that Neptune people do that. Not all Neptune in the first house people do that, but they do like to have fun with their looks and stuff like that.
yeah.
Different colored eye contact. Even when people go through a transit, like I have another sister, she's a Pisces rising. In the early degrees, when Neptune went into Pisces, all of a sudden she had this desire to wear gray contacts. She never did that before, ever. And now Neptune is kind of far because she's a 0 degrees Pisces. She don't do that no more. But that was the phase that she went through, wearing different colored eye contacts. So I'm thinking, man, even by transit, people are like going through that.
Yeah, they just play with their looks because it's the planet of fantasy. So, fantasy, illusion, costumes, and makeup, and acting out different roles and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, he was like Neptune rules like movies and everything. So he was like in the movies, he was an actor. But like, yeah, but still, I don't pick up on it that heavy of a Neptunian presence with him. I think if he were a Cancer rising and Sun and Mercury in the 12th would make more sense. It plays out a little differently. It's not as strong. Like it's not like the planet Neptune actually sitting there.
Yeah, it's more verbal, more of a smartiness to it.
Yeah, true that. But yeah, that's it, guys. Unless anybody else has any input or questions or anything, we've already been on for a little over an hour and we've gone through a few ascendants. But let us know, you guys, like what you guys think as far as what Tupac's rising sign could be. If you agree with us on the Cancer or Aquarius or possible Sag, but maybe not really Sag, like kind of on the west side, but not really on the west side.
Yeah. East side or west side? That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know. Like leave comments and stuff, and any input, because we love those type of discussions with everybody else. So
right.
Anyway, so we're gonna sign off. But yes, Darren, thanks for coming through. Somebody is asking, when are you gonna post a new video on your channel? So
Oh, me?
What's up with that? Yes, you.
Oh.
You.
I come back from Bulgaria. So I'm going out of the country.
Oh yes, he's going on this really dope retreat, guys. So with some other, it's a really dope astrologer retreat that I really wish I could go to. I'm so envious. So I'll be I'll be living vicariously through you if you post anything or share anything. But yeah, when you get back though, do something on your channel. Like whenever I interview you, people always ask stuff like that. Like, when is it gonna do some more videos?
I know. I get so bombarded with a lot of clients. I mean, I'm grateful, but it's like, oh my goodness. It's like I do one video, then people that just blow up. Like even the last video I did a video on reincarnation. I don't know if you saw it, but that blew me up too. So I got super busy.
I am so happy for you though. That's that Uranus right there at the top of your chart, right there on the in your 10th house. So
yeah, on the MC and everything.
Well, whenever Darren has some free time, he's a busy man. He's a really dope astrologer. So, you know, I don't blame him for being busy. Then he'll do some content. But I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and discuss the big homie Tupac, R.I.P. with me. So yeah, thank you to everybody that tuned in and that's gonna watch the replay. And we'll see you guys in another future video. Maybe we will come back and do Biggie's chart. Yeah. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. All right. Peace, everybody.
Peace.